speaking of unionization, let's go ahead and talk about the unionization of VFX. I heard earlier this week that they might do it. So this comes to us from the Wired.com. See, Marvel's VFX workers have moved to unionize, and it's a huge deal for Hollywood.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we just talked. Yeah, it's this is really relevant. Artists in the visual effects industry have been talking about unionizing for more than a decade. So I guess they are really going to do it now. Just take a look at how She-Hulk was, right? She-Hulk had pretty bad VFX. Like look at Thor: Love and Thunder, the floating head, and the eye that wasn't what's it called again? Doctor Strange 2 with the eye that looks like they literally copy and pasted his eye, just like, oh, just gonna duplicate this one, just put it right here. It's awful, man. And these, like, look, I'm pretty sure if the VFX people got more time to work on, I'm gonna pause this video up here. If the VFX people got more time to work on their stuff, it could be really good. I'm pretty sure these VFX artists are insanely talented, right?
Yeah, right.
I believe. But if you have Disney is like, yo, we promise Phase 5 to be out on time. All right, we got to make sure it comes out, right? So it's wild. So let's read this. One of the many knock effects on Marvel post-credit scenes, a feature of Studio Cinematic Universe, is that the fans get a glimpse of just how many below-the-line workers it takes to make all of that superhero movie magic. Production designers, hair and makeup folks, camera operators, and the list runs on and on. Amongst them, usually toward the end, as theater goers are eagerly anticipating that tease for the next MCU movie. Our list of visual effects studios places names like Frame Store, the third floor, which is I know the third floor, is that Cinesite that created all of these space scenes in Wakanda visuals. But unlike most of the other names in those credits, the ones that attach to VFX artists have never been a professional union. Yeah, so how do you feel about this, man? Before I move forward, like, how do you feel about them unionizing and stuff?
For Grae or for me?
Anyone on the panel.
Go ahead, Grae. I'll let you start.
I'm caught in between. It's like I feel for Disney overworking them, but at the same time, now of all times where these their quality of the shows are dropping hard or they're not so good, I don't think they're in a good position to bargain to become a union. It's like Disney can easily or any of these big studios can just reject it and take them down. Like, okay, we'll just hire someone who's okay with what we're offering and who's not going to unionize. That's how I see it. But at the same time, yeah, these studios need to treat their staff better, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, I think the result of the crunch, I imagine, is because they're trying to churn out as many shows as possible, which is not a good thing, in my opinion. I think they should have just stuck to how they did it with Phase 1 to 3, where they just released few but quality shows. Because like, I think they were trying to structure it in such a way that there's gonna be one Disney or Marvel show every month. Like, even if you successfully do that, people are not gonna go to the theaters every month. Like, or it's like they're not gonna go every other week just to keep up with the Phase 5 or 6 or whatever. Right. Because like it's too expensive. It takes too much time. Not a lot of people have that much time and money to be able to do something like that. So I think they should have just stuck with the old structure, focus on quality, and of course not go woke. But yeah, there's probably a middle ground somewhere where the VFX get treated better and get paid better. But unionizing is not the solution, in my opinion. Especially not now that they're losing so much money.
Very well said, as always, Grae. I would say for me, I agree with that middle ground thing. I think that employees should be treated fairly and properly and respectfully. I think that people should be treated fairly, right? Like, point blank. I don't think that unionizing is ever a good idea. I think that it damages the company. I think that it's the employee is giving up freedom. I think that it's not good for the employees at the end of the day, and I think it's just a bad concept and a bad practice. So that's kind of how I feel about unionizing in general. Now, when it comes to Disney and what they've been doing, I think that they've been shooting themselves in the foot, right? Because they've been coming out with less than quality content. And so now I think they're more relying on putting out as much content as possible. Most of it, I would say, is mediocre. And so now people are panicking, people are getting desperate, and now people are getting overworked. Whereas if you were just putting out less content, but more quality, right? So, you don't have to overwork them as much because they're just working on less things, but putting, more of their time and effort and energy into those things where they can focus, then that would be better. And so, unfortunately, they didn't do that. They decided to make crappy stuff and go woke and all these things. And now everybody is kind of paying for it in a way. So what happens at this point, where we're at, it's kind of tough, but I definitely don't agree with unionizing. It's almost never a good idea in my opinion.
Yep. All right, let's see. On Monday, some folks at Marvel made a move to change that, with a supermajority of Marvel Studios VFX crew signing cards saying they want to be represented by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, other known as IATSE, which is the people who are in charge of the animation guild as well. See, to be clear, the Marvel team is a small faction of a huge industry and doesn't represent all those outside VFX houses that also work on MCU films. But their move marks a huge shift for Hollywood at a time when people in their industry unions, the WGA and the SAG, are on strike to get better deals with their major studios. VFX workers have been talking about unionizing for more than a decade, says I think Bilali Mack, a visual effects supervisor who's worked on everything from The Whale to The Flash. And the fact that one group, albeit a small one, has taken steps to unionize is huge, he says. Well, unionizing costs us a lot is because you also need to factor in like healthcare and stuff, right? You got to factor in like healthcare. You got to factor in all the other stuff, and then like you got to make sure everyone gets paid a similar rate. So it could potentially be super costly for them. But let's continue. Let's see. This moment has roots in 2013 when The Life of Pi won Oscar for the best visual effects. As the company that worked on the special effects, Rhythm and Hues, was facing bankruptcy. Yeah, I remember this one. This was huge. I remember that's when everyone started using the green, not MySpace, but the Facebook icon. It to show that they're standing in solidarity with the studios. And I heard that like people actually went to the studios at Rhythm and Hues and the doors were like chained. They couldn't even go in. And they won an Oscar for visual effects. So just like, holy crap, man. So I remember this was huge back in the day. Let's see. When the movie's visual effects supervisor, Bill Westenhofer, sounds like alcohol, took the stage to accept his award, he said that the traditional thank yous and then added, sadly, the Rhythm and Hues is suffering severe financial difficulties right now. I urge you all to remember, at which point his mic was cut off.
Yep. Yeah. Dang. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Exactly. Yep. It's because they're like, yo, we want, just shut up. Shut up, take your reward and get out.
Yep.
Right. It's a pretty shitty thing that they did that. Rhythm and Hues, yeah. Go ahead.
Censorship is
basically.
Yeah.
Rhythm and Hues wasn't the only visual effects studios facing troubles. Some 21 similar companies shuttered between 2003 and 2013 due to part of the production delays and the fact that many jobs were going to companies based outside of the US, where tax subsidies and incentives give VFX houses a better shot at survival. So yes, this is also huge for animation studios as well. Everything is being outsourced now. Video games is also being outsourced. Everything is being outsourced because it's a lot cheaper. Opening up studios in Mexico, Korea, even India and Philippines have some studios now. Let's see. Attempts to organize have been bubbling up ever since, and this week they bubbled over. Quote, "We are witnessing an unprecedented wave of solidarity that's breaking down old barriers in the industry," IATSE President Matthew Loeb said in a statement. That doesn't happen in a vacuum. Loeb was, of course, talking about the fact that the unionization effort at Marvel is happening amidst the SAG and WGA strikes, which may be emboldening folks in Hollywood sectors. Sorry, in other Hollywood sectors. Which Grae, I do agree with you. I hope the strike goes on until next year.
I agree with that too.
I think it will, actually. Looking by, I'm not seeing any headlines about progress happening. And yeah, I mentioned this before way back. So to give you guys an idea with regards to outsourcing costs, here in the Philippines, here in the capital, the minimum wage daily, it's around $12 a day. That's how big the cost they save. Imagine. And that's the capital. It's even lower in the provinces. So imagine how much money they save paying people here instead of paying people from in-house in the US. That's why they're doing it.
That's
That's to give you an idea how much money they save.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, like, what do you guys think? I don't think that it's like ideal to have to outsource in that way. I think that it would be ideal to have everything in-house, everything contained, and kind of work in that way. You know, obviously one of the big reasons why people are outsourcing is to save costs because of forced mandatory minimum wage. I think that's unfortunate.
Yep. So imagine what's it called again? I'm not sure if the IATSE like the pay stuff is still updated, but you can find that online. Like storyboard artists like gets paid like $50 an hour, right? For these television shows. It really depends on which part of the animation industry you're in, like if you're in Disney or Nickelodeon. But let's say if you outsource that and then you're only paying that person over there maybe $15 an hour, right? So instead of hiring like most likely what they're doing right now is hiring one like principal artist, one lead or art director, and then everything else gets outsourced, right? Animation is all outsourced now, which is really sad. That's because so Dan says $2,100 to $2,400 per week. That's a lot. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
So that's like over $7,000 a month. That's over $100,000 a year. It's a good chunk of money. Now imagine if half of that is outsourced, right? Like how much money would you save? Because animators, that's the time-consuming stuff, right? So you have an animation director in-house and timing director in-house, and then everything else gets outsourced, right? And usually storyboard artists, they sort of do this. They sort of already animate in a way because they do animatics and stuff like that. And then once that gets outsourced, animators takes the brunt of the work, and then they work and they have like 50 people working on like one project versus you're getting like 10 people, 50 people, maybe hundreds of people working on one project or one episode. Like let's say you're working on Young Justice or something like that, and you get 50 to 100 people working on one, and then they all are probably that entire studio gets paid one artist salary versus 10. Right. So you're saving a shit ton of money that way. Right. So I wonder if, as of right now, the VFX department doesn't really have that because most of it are done in-house. Now imagine all that shit get automated and get outsourced. Right. So I think that's or even AI. Right. And that's why these companies are on strike, which is crazy. Right. So all right, let's go ahead and continue. Let's see. 100% Mac replied, right? Oh, no, never mind. Sorry. Considering artificial intelligence, which I just brought up, has been a major point of contention in the Hollywood strike so far, I asked Rand and Mac if it might be on VFX artists' minds as well. Both agreed that it was, adding that AI can be the tool for VFX artists, but it still always require a human to guide it. Is it possible, I asked Mac, that studios could try to create shots with AI and then have human VFX artists clean them up? 100%. There are already companies that are doing that, right? AI generated background, have one artist instead of having a background artist, 10 background artists making an AI. You just need one. Like a couple of months ago, we talked about an AI generated background like show that was on Netflix. Right. So they're already doing it. So for VFX, it just
Secret Invasion. The intro of Secret Invasion. That's AI.
Yep, that's AI as well. Yep.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because they're saying in visual effects, and I think that a lot of other industries, which is that their first 90% that takes 10% of your time, and then the last 10% takes 90% of your time. They're gonna spit it out, and it's gonna be a piece of crap. Then they're just gonna be like, we just want it to look perfect and feature film quality, and then a VFX company will get called into to spend 90% of their time to get paid for 10% of their work. Whether that scenario plays out remains to be seen. The National Labor Relations Board still need still needs to due diligence on the Marvel VFX team's request. Only after that's complete will all the members of the eligible Marvel team will be able to vote on whether they want to join the union, and only then, presumably, will it be known whether the other visual effects studios in the MCU credit sequences follow in their footsteps. I think a lot of these companies are going to shut down.
Yeah.
With unionization, I think a lot of them are going to shut down. I remember one time,
and that's not what we want, right? Like, that's unfortunate. That's a casualty. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I remember one time I was interning at a small studio, and during that time they're going to hire me part-time. And I asked the studio had like 10 people. Very, very small. I asked the boss. I was like, "Hey, is this studio union?" She said no. I was like, "What happens if you were to unionize?" He's like, "We will go bankrupt." I was like, because union fees are extremely expensive. And then union does not, it's, of course, as a small studio, you're working with 10 people. Like, it's like, oh, hell no, we're not going to unionize, right? But if you have a company that has like thousands of people, you're going to need someone to represent all those people. So you got to pay that person. You got to pay the unions. And then every artist has to pay the union fees. And, like, I'm not sure how much union dues are, but like, they're like 4,000 or something like that, like at the start. Wow. And like a lot of these studios are forced, like they force the artists to join the union. In order for you to work at Disney, Marvel, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, any of these big studios, you have to sign the union in order to do any work. And like I said, that's why there's a bunch of jerks that are, in a circle that's jerking off to one another, right? A little circle jerking.
Yeah.
Right. It's because all of them they're all tied together. Mm-hmm. In order for you to work here, you need to work here. You need to work here, you work here. Yeah. Dan says 4,000 to join.
Yikes.
Wow.
Yep. Studios cannot employ you unless you join. Exactly. Right. So we do know that there are studios that are not a part of it. That's why most recently, when we talked about it, Rick and Morty season 7 and then season 8 or whatever, they have to join the union now, so they can't make anything. Wow. So yeah. Grae, how do you feel about this? I'm pretty sure like. We spoke enough about like unionization, the whole strike, because this has to do with the whole writer strike and stuff like that. How do you feel about it so far?
Yeah, it's gonna be a loose to the writers, from even the visual artists, even if they're planning to do it, which is kind of sad. They're also gonna be on the losing end because there's so many solutions that these studios can do. Like, oh, there's not gonna be content in the coming months. We'll just license the K-drama, the K-pop, better content, cheaper. You don't want what we are offering, then we'll easily look for someone who does in this terrible economy. There's gonna be someone who's gonna take what we're offering. So what can they do? They're just gonna complain about it. Oh, kind of like what Bryan Cranston did with his speech, right? It's like we will not be treated mistreated, stuff like that. But yeah, you're gonna have to increase your value. AI is beginning to is being taken to a whole new level. It's like suddenly it's shot up in development. So your profession is really under threat. Like, and going back to the background people. So like I've heard they're starting initiatives or it's being thought about where they can just pay random people. Hey, we'll take an AI image of you and we'll pay you this fixed amount. Then they'll just keep using that for all of their shows. So I know that's becoming a trend. So people would think that, oh, you just need a picture of me and you're gonna pay me X amount of money. Sure. It's like, what do they care, right? Because like they're not in the profession anyway, and it's basically like free money for them. So yeah, point is there's so many solutions these studios can do, and in the other side they don't really have anything. They don't really have a choice. All they can do is upskill, like we already said a lot of times, or find a new line of work. So they're really on the losing end. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. And Grae, as always, I would agree with that, man. I think that when it comes to, for example, artificial intelligence or just technology that is advancing, right? I think that's normal and natural, and I think that's good. I actually love cutting edge technology, and I actually like to see things progress. And if there are roles that before were just, you know, highly manual that can be automated and made more efficient and still keep the same quality and the same enjoyment from the consumer, then I'm like, shoot, all for it. And then, you know, and like, even if that was me, then I'm like, all right, shoot, well, I'm going to have to upgrade, you know, my skill set or whatever to adjust to this. And maybe I can be doing the automation or whatever. Right. So I think, you know, just in terms of technology advancing and, you know, jobs getting replaced, I think that in some ways that's good and normal and natural. You know, of course, I have the outlier with, like, you know, customer service, where I think the human interaction is valuable. Right. But anyways, but yeah, you know, so that's normal stuff. But when it comes to, you know, so that's almost unavoidable. But the unionizing stuff, I think that's where we have the issues, man. I think that there's just too much damage that does to all sides. You know, you have lose-lose situations, and you know, it doesn't have to be that way. I think a lot of, you know, I think with a lot of these, you know, mandates that have been happening and forcing people to feel like they have to unionize, and then, you know, the company's suffering everything. You know, it's just it's unfortunate that we're having to go that route, and people, I think, are being kind of brainwashed into thinking that is the route to go. You know, in my opinion, it almost seems like you're selling your soul to, like, a government kind of entity, when you're like, oh, you know, you have to sign up to this, or you have to, you know, go by these means in order to participate in this system, or, you know, work this job, whatever. It just does not seem like it's the right way to go. And I think that we have proof. We've seen how it just kind of falls on its head, and it's not good. So yeah.
Thanks for checking out this segment of the Project Eggroll podcast. If you like what we do here, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you will know next time when we go live. We do go live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Once again, we are just getting started. Tons of more video to come. Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.